everybody, today I wanted to talk to you about fabric preparation, and I also wanted to talk about snipping your corners and clipping your curves. So that'll be attached to this video, so make sure you watch the entire video if you want to learn about those. But I wanted to talk about fabric. Fabric, before you use it, you need to wash it and dry it. And this is important because if you don't wash and dry your fabric and you make something and then you have to wash and dry the item that you just made, it's going to shrink and it's going to get all puckery and it won't look nice and it'll make you really sad. So always wash and dry your fabric before you make anything with it. And also I iron my fabric before I use it so there's no wrinkles in it. And this is the selvage end of your fabric. The selvage end of your fabric is going to have the bound edge where it's made in the the fabric mill. It's going to be the bound edge that usually has a white stripe down it with their color code on it. And this is your cut end of the fabric. This is where when you buy fabric, they cut it off the bolt. Yeah, they cut it off the bolt. But this is your selvage side of your fabric. So stay tuned for the clipping your curves and snipping your corners. I will attach that to this video. Hi everybody, today I wanted to talk about clipping your curves and snipping your corners. And these are two things that I've found that beginner sewers don't understand the importance of and will sometimes skip. And they are actually really important, and I'll show you why. Let's say you have sewn a curve and you're going to trim off your excess seam allowance. You're going to leave about half. And then you want to clip your curve. And by doing that, you just take your sharp scissors. I like these spring-loaded ones. And I'm not going to do down here because this is actually straight, but where it starts to curve, I'm going to take tiny little snips. But I'm not going to cut the thread because you don't want to cut the thread. You're going to take tiny little snips. And then you can be done with that. And what this does is it relieves tension. So when you go to turn it, you'll get a nice smoother curve line. And there's, you know, the curve line. Then once you iron it, it'll be nice and flush and curvy and no lumpy bumpies. And this one, I'll just trim the seam allowance the same way. Then I'm going to show you what it looks like without clipping the curve. Okay? And now I'm not going to clip the curve. And you can already start to see a difference. See how lumpy it is? And it doesn't, you can even feel it. It doesn't feel the same. So you always want to clip your curves. And then for corners, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to cut off about half of my seam allowance. And then when you get to the corner, you just want to do a little diagonal snip. And this takes away the bulk. So when you turn your corners, there's less fabric. And so your corners will be nice and pointy. Then I'm going to turn it to the right side. And then I take my chopstick and I'm just going to poke it out a little bit. And when you use something to poke out your corners, make sure it's got a dull end and not a sharp end. Those are some nice crisp corners, and You can tell there's not a lot of fabric there. And now in this example, I'm just going to trim my seam allowance, but I'm not going to clip the corners. See, I'm going to leave that fabric there, and I'm going to turn it right side out. And you can already tell there's a lot of fabric in the corner. I'll do the same thing. I'll take my chopstick and I'll poke it out, but I can't. There's too much fabric really to poke it well. But it's really lumpy and it's not. There's a lot of fabric there. You can see it. Where's my other one? There it is. Let's see, you can see how nice and flat that is compared to these corners. Okay, so don't try and shortcut without clipping curves or snipping your corners. Now I want to talk about patterns. For beginners, I suggest starting out with a PDF pattern. And you can get these on Etsy or any other online store that sells PDF patterns. And I recommend these because these give you step-by-step instructions with pictures. And you don't have to print out the whole instructions. You can leave them on your computer. You can go back to that page when you need it. But it gives you step by step, and it's more detailed, and it's numbered 1, 2, 3. You know, these are the things you have to complete before you go on to the next thing. And so I really like these type of patterns for beginners, and then it always gives you a pattern. Well, not always, but most of the time. But it'll give you a pattern. Sometimes the patterns, you can get PDF patterns for adult size clothes, children's clothes, doll clothes, anything you can imagine. And sometimes you have to print out multiple sheets and then tape them together to make a big pattern. But to me, that's no big deal. And then there's, you know, your traditional patterns that you get at the fabric store. And I just don't recommend these for beginners. These would be more intermediate type patterns because there's a lot of confusion when it comes to these. So start out with a good PDF pattern, and like in Etsy, when I'm looking for a certain pattern, like this one, I wanted a reusable fabric bag. So I put reusable fabric pattern, or reusable fabric bag pattern, and then I put the letters PDF afterwards, so the search would know I was only looking for a PDF pattern and wouldn't bring up, you know, these type of patterns. So I do recommend going on Etsy or any other online store that sells PDF patterns, and like Pixie Fair, libertyjane.com. If you go there, it'll tell you how to get to Pixie Fair. And they give away an American Girl pattern every Friday. Every Friday you can download a free American Girl pattern. And those patterns also give you step-by-step instructions. So that is my Tuesday sewing tips for beginners. And thanks for watching. Bye.